Hello people, and welcome back to another video. This is the last video of 2023 and it's going to be my total sales of 2023, my first year as a reseller in the UK. So if you don't know my backstory, I started this year reselling in January. I did do a few pallets at the end of last year and leading into January, but mainly my proper reselling, where I was going around car boots, going around charity shops, started in January. The reason I did this is because last year my dad did pass away, and it just made me think about life. Do I really want to work in a 9-to-5 job? I was a manager at a B&M store. I didn't enjoy it at all. Got treated badly while my dad was in hospital, asking me when I was coming back, when am I gonna start working out? And I didn't even have my dad, obviously cremated, and they replaced me basically as a manager without me even knowing. And yeah, I just handed in my notice. Luckily, obviously, through the passing of my dad, I had his car and I had my own car. So I thought, I'm gonna sell that car, and whatever funds I get from that car, I'm gonna start my reselling career. Bought a few pallets, like I said, at the end of last year, and then I decided it wasn't really worth doing pallets because the amount of money you have to pay out and risk take on returns, it didn't weigh up. And I thought reselling is probably an easier way, a cheaper way to make more money. So I started off in January not knowing anything at all about reselling. Obviously I knew about selling stuff and what stuff sells in certain departments. Obviously working in retail did help, and obviously selling the pallets, but I didn't really know much about charity shops. I wasn't a big fan of charity shops. Back in the day when I was a kid, my mom used to always go around charity shops and drag me around. I didn't like them. If you knew the old charity shops, they was really cheap, but they smelled so musty and horrible. I dreaded it. Dragging me in to a charity shop at like 8, 9, 10 years old is not what you want to be doing at that age, you know. So yeah, I hated it, but now I'm always in them, you know. I'm growing around charity shops and I love them, you know, even though the prices are a bit higher than they are in the old days. But yeah, this is where I make my money, you know. Obviously I make my money from car boots as well, but majority of my stuff does come from charity shops. And I decided to look around. Car boots wasn't really open in January, so mainly I was going around charity shops until it came to around March time when car boots started opening up, and it was a new experience for me. I know I have been to car boots, but it wasn't really to buy stuff to sell on. It used to be just to have a nosy around. Used to get back in the day when I used to go to car boots and used to have them copied CDs of films, and used to go there just so I could get the latest film. And yeah, I just was overwhelmed by how big and busy they are. I didn't really know what I was looking for the first probably 4 months. I really was just picking up anything. I did pick up a lot of bric-a-brac. I was obsessed with bread bins, with cookie jars, and I did quite well on them. But I was so like fed up of having bulky items in the house, stuff that could break. I had a lot of breakages as well when it was sent, and it was getting to the stage where I wasn't enjoying buying that stuff because I didn't really know anything else other than that stuff, and I was just all over the place. When it came to March, I did go to the resale summit. It was good, you know. If you haven't been, do go. I'm not into that thing. Obviously I did fall out with a lot of them because the way they was like uh they treat people. But I don't want to talk about what happened. There's a video about that if you really want to go and see it. But yeah, learned a bit more about certain things. Not really as much as I thought I would have learned, but it was certain people on YouTube. Like I said, Selling Dan was one of them. He did help me a lot. He, you know, and look at different items that you wouldn't really think of getting, and people don't even pick up as resellers because they're too bulky. So I started going more into the old retro stuff, like video players, combi video DVD players, TVs, hoovers, anything quite bulky, wheelchairs, stuff like that. I started picking up. Obviously I would also pick up clothing. And when it came to around about, I would say June, I really did start knowing what I was actually doing. In this time period, I actually had a day out at Dickinson's Real Deal, and I had a Shogun's Warrior Transformer sort of like toy, which was in the 1970s. They didn't know what it was, which was the most hilarious thing. I didn't meet David Dickinson as well, but it was one of my highlights because it was just cool to see something what you see on TV. Over the months, it just seemed to get a lot more easier. I knew what I was finding. Labels that I didn't know anything about, now I do. Toys, I will always search for toys. That is the only, probably the place that I actually know stuff about, where I don't need to research. And over the year, I have picked up some absolutely amazing toys, and it's been awesome picking up, not just for the profit, but also for the just sentimental value, you know, picking up a couple of He-Man figures, a couple of Turtle figures, which I had as a kid, you know, picking up that Shogun's Warrior, picking up a massive bundle of Jurassic Park toys, which made me like over £200 in profit. But in the day, the reason why I'm doing this is obviously to make a living. And I've had some really good sales this year. Like I said, the Shogun's Warrior, I made like £230 off it. Made loads of money off wheelchairs and walkers, making £60–70 off a wheelchair. And people just leave them. And so I had them and I made the money. It was simple as that. Some of my best buys though have been like printers, you know, just old printers that no one wants. And you find out they're worth about £60–70 and you only picked them up for £3. But obviously my best sale of the year, and I know I keep on going on about it, but it was this month's sale of the year, of the month, and that was that Apple Mac 1990s rare computer. And yeah, I sold it for £800 and made like over £500 profit. You know, absolutely, it was the best buy I have ever picked, and it was all due to my knowledge. If it wasn't for all the experience I've learned over the year, going to auctions, knowing that computers from that age actually sell for a lot of money. And when I saw the opportunity, I had to get it because I just knew I was going to make a lot of money. But enough about what I've done in the year. You're probably all here wanting to know how much profit, how much sales I have done this year on eBay and Vinted and private sales, because it's all combined. And it's been very good. A lot of people will make loads more money than me. A lot of people will probably look at this and go, is that it? Some people will be going, wow, you made that. But you've got to remember, a lot of the time I've wasted over them, probably 4 or 5 months at start, learning how to pick stuff, picking stuff that wasn't really worth picking stuff that was worth maybe £2 or £3, which I shouldn't even bought because it's pointless buying it. You know, all that time wasted, you know, will now be absolutely non-existent next year. So next year will be the year where I'm going to start making some proper serious money. So I've got my little book here. This is by, if you don't know what this is my book. So obviously it all goes on computer, but these are all the things I buy. It's just like a little note that I know how much I bought it for, how much I sell it for, and then I work out the profit. If I show you, like, just for instance, one part. So if you can see there, I write it down. You can see like what the thing is, and then what I sold it for, work out the profit, which is obviously fees, and then I put the profit down, and then I state where it was sold, if it was sold on eBay, Vinted, private, and the day. The lines are for basically different coloured months, you know, so I know what the months are. So when I'm doing the monthly totals, I know orange is March or whatever, and so on and so on. This is all combined. So if you haven't watched the video about Vinted, I made just over £3,000 on Vinted in profit. So I can't work out the sales on that. I'm not going to go through the whole book just to work out the sales on that, but I'll put the profit of Vinted on the end in the total profit. This is a chart what you'll see on your eBay account, and it'll see it's a chart of a graph of basically all my monthly sales. As you see at the start, it was very low, then it goes up, and then it goes a bit staggered, and then, you know, it's pretty much quite even near some months and that. Most months I was making about £2,500 sales, and that's good for me. That's quite nice. I have not even really tried this year. I know it sounds bad, but I haven't tried at all. I've probably put about 50% in this year. You know, obviously a lot of time wasted at the start, you know, learning the trade. But even now, I don't list like I should do. I know I tell people like you should list, and it does make a lot of difference. You know, I have a life, I have a child, I have a social life, I want to do stuff. I don't want to just be working 9 to 5 or what, like 24 hours a day just to make money, because what's the point of making money if you've got no life to spend that money to enjoy your life? So I decided when I became self-employed that I would make sure that I actually could do stuff when I wanted to. If I want a day off, I'll have a day off. If I want a week off, I'll have a week off. But I'll always make sure that I've always got backup to do that, you know. That's why sometimes my sales will go down, because maybe I haven't listed for 2 or 3 days. And obviously, if you are wanting just to make money, then you can work harder. Next year is going to be completely different for me. I'm going to obviously boost my game up and show how much you can really make. Obviously, it depends on where you live as well. I do feel like that's a massive factor. So as you can see now on the screen, that is the total sales that I've had on eBay. At this moment while shooting, it's round about 20, almost 29, is it? Or just under 29,000. And that's in sales, so that's not profit. If you add up all the private sales and Vinted sales, I'm well over £30,000 in sales. But obviously, sales doesn't mean profit. And I've got the total down now. I'm going to tell you how much I've made this year. Like I said, this profit might not be much to you. You know, if you're what I did in my previous job, I wasn't. What I'm going to tell you, I earned about the same. It was just probably actually a bit less. When I became a manager, I was probably on this, but I've never got around to being a proper manager, because I was only the manager for about a month. And but when I was working there, like just an ordinary, you know, 30-hour days a week, I was obviously minimum wage, and I wasn't making as much as what I am going to tell you now. So my total profit of this year is £18,432.69. This is probably as accurate as I can get. There's always going to be bits and bobs you might have more. I've made probably a bit more than that. I would say probably 19,000 if you add up all the pallets that I had. If you watch some of my earlier videos, the pallets where I picked up the Lego, I made a lot of money off that pallet. I made over £1,000 profit on that pallet, because I had the Lego, one of the Legos and another Lego basically paid for the pallet, and then I had another Lego which was £150 profit, and then I had loads of other stuff on there. So you're probably looking around, yeah, I would say the 19 grand mark for this year's profit. People are now going to say, oh, well, about your petrol and all that lot. Oh, yes, but you can claim stuff like that back on your tax. I'm using my car for work, you know, stuff like obviously my phone, my utensils, computers, anything to do with my job, I can actually claim back. So when you think about taxing and you making so much money, there is so much money you can actually claim for your work. And that's the same in any self-employed business, you know. So yeah, I would say about £19,000 for the year in my first year as a reseller, and I'm pretty happy. This is the reason I want to do this video. It's not to tell you how much I made or what that. It's about people who are thinking about doing it. People who are part-time and wanting to see if it's worth it. If you're only making £200-300 a week, you might as well just sack that off and become a reseller, because you can make that, you know, and all that time. If you're a hard worker, I'm not a hard worker. I am literally not a hard worker, you know, and I've made this amount of money in my first year. So you think about it, take off all them 4 or 5 bad months at the start. Now in January, I won't have them 4 or 5 bad months. So I'm probably going to make another 4, 5, 6, 7 grand in the first few months of this year. So it's going to just be bigger, unless something drastic happens, you know, or give up or something like that. Next year should be absolutely destroy. It should just absolutely destroy this total. And hopefully this time next year I'll do another total and compare the two, and yeah, you'll see. Anyway, I'm gonna go now because I'm going out with my mates, obviously celebrating New Year. Hope you all have a good New Year, and let's all smash it for 2024. In the new year, we'll do a few videos about how to succeed in reselling in 2024, and yeah, help you all out. If anybody's got any questions, I always reply back. So comment down below. If you're new, comment down below and say hi, and I will see you next year with another video. Happy New Year. Goodbye.